So there are a lot of tags that are supported by HTML. And again, the tags are going to render different things in the user interface. So just some terminology here. It's the HTML that we write, or that somebody else writes. When you look at it in a web page, this is what generates the user interface that you see. So just as a couple of simple examples here, we could do a few tags here. We could do an H2. Again, this goes all the way to H6. And if we do that and we open this up or refresh our browser where we have this, we'll see all of these are different sizes. Now, here's an HTML reference page. It shows you all the available tags that you could end up using. And we're just going to look at a small number of them. Some of these we're using already. We're using the HTML tag. We're using the body tag, which is up here. So if we end up going and taking a look at this, we could actually inspect these a little bit more. And we could do this with the Chrome developer tools. And these are installed with Chrome. Other browsers have other developer tools. And if we go over here and we do View, Developer Tools, one of the things we could do is we could open this up and we could select any of the elements. And this will give us an idea of how these elements end up behaving. We'll see, hey, look, the font size of this H1 is 2M. And we can talk about that a little bit more, but this is basically a size. You could sort of think about 1M as the size of as the default letter. So this is kind of sort of twice the size as what the normal letter would end up being. Let me just go a little further here. Under this H1, I'm going to put a div, and I'm just going to put in div. We'll see all these line up on top of each other, one on top of the other going down vertically. And that's the way that these tags end up behaving. And so one thing we could sort of see here, that approximately the height of this letter here is twice what this is. And again, we didn't put any size here, so this is sort of the default size. If we look at this, we'll find that the default size of a letter, because there's no even size specified here, but if we go up here, we'll see that this H1 is twice the size. If we end up looking at the H2, it's 1.5 times the size. And if we go and look at the H3, it's 1.17. So these are all kind of variations of this. If we probably went down to a H5, these are all things you could control, but by default in this document, if we end up going here, we'll see that here we're looking at this H5, and this actually is below the size of this letter. So it's one way of sort of relatively controlling the size of things. And we'll end up taking a look at that in a second. But really kind of more importantly, if you had something that was a big header in your application, an H1 would probably be a good tag to do for sort of normal blocks of text and other things. Divs are pretty useful to do. And for smaller headers, you could end up using these tags. Let's just look at one more thing here. If we go over here, and again, we're not doing anything, obviously, no great works of art, but there's other tags that also have their own behavior. So here, we're going to put in a list item, and UL stands for unordered list, and we'll put in 2. And there are rules about how these tags work. So unordered lists end up containing list items. Divs could really end up containing just about anything. And we'll look at this as we end up going along. But these are, in this case, we're sort of exploring headers, just plain blocks, and an unordered list. And if we look at this, we'll see that our unordered list has a behavior here where we end up getting these bullet points that are over here. So you can experiment with any number of tags, but even with a small subset of the tags that are here, you could probably accomplish most of what you're attempting to do in terms of building out a user interface.